Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Ni no Kuni. So, save file says prepare yourself for the final battle, which really all that could mean is to either create a bunch of things with alchemy, which I'm fairly certain I couldn't craft anything more with alchemy, or just mentally prepare yourself. Like, because there's no stores, there's no shops, there's no way to use money. I have a ridiculous 80,000 gold and no way to use it. I suppose you could try to fly or travel uh, to a place and spend the money. Even at that, though, 80,000 is not going to be that much. Um, we are in this very weird position where it feels like like there's just going to be post game content in the absolute worst way. One of the things that I thought about is Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition. Its side quests were just overly plentiful. It was a very open ended RPG game where you could just go anywhere and do anything. Skyrim, as an example of another Western uh, RPG, very much the same thing until you eventually run out of quests in Skyrim. Maybe a little bit more than you do in Fallout 3. Although, in fairness, Skyrim also has some randomly generated quests that Fallout 3 doesn't really have. Whereas here you have a game that's more linear, and I would lean to suspect that most JRPGs are fairly linear in what um, in how they want to play, because I would assume that a Japanese creator would kind of want more control to tell a linear story. Although in this case, there really isn't much of a story being told. Um, so that really leaves me with the thought that this is mostly just a case of Ni no Kuni being a bad example of even Japanese RPGs. And I would lean towards that. If anything, I've got tricked by the visuals and the advertising and the claims of Studio Ghibli being involved, which really would have only affected the visuals anyways. Let's do Nature's Tongue here. Hmm. So you could leave that way now, but it wants us to talk to this guy. I could only hope that we get in here and we're surprised to find the White Witch is not actually there. Um, we don't really know where we are. I guess we are right there on the map. So it seems very strange that if I am facing directly at the uh, castle and that translates to the map, then the floating castle is far to the north and may just be really, really big. Or it could be not that big and it could be right next to us. But inherently, I don't have time to try and play a different Japanese RPG anytime in the next couple years, I would say at this point. So this was the one I picked, and it didn't turn out that well. It would have definitely been better if there were more random quests or quests that were procedurally generated so that there would be more gameplay or more reason to want to play the game to your own satisfaction versus to the creator's satisfaction, where they just want you to play the narrative parts and you can pick or choose whether or not to do the side quests, with that not really affecting much. Um, this definitely comes off as more of a scripted experience, whereas Fallout 3 was much more of a choose your own adventure, uh, procedurally generated experience. Of course, maybe that also is that concept of design probably directly leads to the jankiness that you see in things like Fallout 3 and Skyrim too. Is it's just not uh, as smooth, as nicely animated. Uh, Listen, boy, we have all hands on deck here, meaning things are under control. So save your energies. The job is to defeat the White Witch. Let my crew take care of everything else. Now get some rest. We'll start at dawn. You don't mind sleeping on the deck, do you, Graha? Rest in preparation for the final battle. That's why you have a chance. So unless this was a dream sequence that happens, like, I would half expect this would end up giving us a new story, but do we even have any stories to unlock? No, you would almost expect it. That's the characters we haven't fought. You'd almost expect that a new story might magically just appear. Let's see, but that wouldn't be there. It would be, yeah, stories kind of stop at this point. So, and you can see there's binding in the middle of it. Is there binding in the middle of every page? Yes, there is. That's probably not how that would work, but okay. Hmm. And they kind of don't even want you to bother to talk to everybody again. Hmm. 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 Wow, there's some really long pauses in this dialogue. Hmm. As these two are joking. Hmm. Interesting. So talking to them created a weapon shop. Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's probably helpful. Somewhat. Right. So this is gonna be a question about, do we have something that's an ingredient first? Hmm. None of these seem to be labeled as ingredients. All of these are incredibly expensive. I could... Some of these I would be just buying because I was just buying them. This one's not a terrible one to buy because it seems to increase everything there. And it might make a lot of sense just to buy the other thing too. Go ahead and equip that. So we could either double up there, or we could get this weapon. Let's get this weapon just for variety's sake. But that just used up our gold. And unless we were going to start to get really crazy and start selling things, I don't think we can get a ton of gold that way. Now, if I was going to try and get all of the achievements, which there's like 20 achievements still left, which makes it very hard to believe that we're at the end of the game, what I could do is sell off every item I have and every equipped item and just see if I can get the amount of gold I have high enough to reach that gold achievement. That didn't lead to any more alchemy things. It seems like if you are going to establish a shop, then there might be room for a treat shop and a quest shop too. And it seems like there might be a case here for making more use of having a shop on the top of your flying ship. He's looking the other way. It does seem kind of wasteful to introduce a shop now. The things that they weren't selling were any potions or health in particular, and that's what I would need. Is if I have no provisions whatsoever, then, and we are going to a final boss battle, that would be a nightmare. This time I don't need Nature's Tongue. Nope. So maybe this guy will give us a spell. I guess we're ready for the final showdown. It's definitely asking multiple times. They want to remind you of all of these characters, but a lot of these characters are very, very rarely seen. So Hamlin had access to some sort of flying machines with actual missiles, which that's a little weird. And they have the cloud sweepers. Wouldn't it be? This is part of the demo at the beginning. It'd be funny if this whole cloud castle somehow maintains the entire world, and by it being destroyed, it resets and destroys the world. Or the entire castle is full of mana, just brimming with it, so the second it breaks apart, mana just spreads all over the air. This is kind of a great example, though, where you can't have a big militaristic battle in a game like this because you have not established a gameplay mechanic like that. It just really wouldn't work. It'd feel unfair if that was how the game ended. Them being united and wasting firepower though is pointless. Well, it looks like it's kind of a far way around, so we can start by doing chart chests. I assume that this is just a dungeon. Here we can see there are floating robots. So the broken ones we had seen before may have just been slight hints that these were going to exist previously. We're going to run into familiars. Yep, little frame ratey again. I just loaded the game, and it might be a case, because this does happen, that when you first start a game, it might re-render the textures and all the effects, textures, and shaders. I think it's more shaders than anything. These guys are heavy hitters. So if anything, I probably need to grind a whole bunch. Probably gonna even die a few times. The system has failed fairly miserably as far as switching out characters, because we only got that extra we will replace Yo-Ho, particularly for Mighty. He doesn't need that spell. He grabs the attention by default. So yeah, we're gonna have to grind around and see if we can maybe sneak up on some people. That may have been a particularly difficult fight, but I suspect that's not going to be the case. I imagine all of these are going to be fairly difficult fights. And it might be a case where it is just going to be easier to cast Even Star. That definitely felt easier. Seems like we have a cog gear design on this ship. Does Esther say we're under attack every single time? Or was that just an unfortunate repeat? I think somebody says we're under attack each time as an unnecessary line of dialogue. Hmm. Hmm. We're getting gold again. We're getting items. Right. It will be funny if it turns out that there's very little. Let's check celestial armor. None of these guys have armor. This guy has shields. So this guy has armor. Increase defense, reduce accuracy even more. Protects wearer from all magical afflictions. Also. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we'll equip it, but that did not work particularly well. Feels like there's too many trade-offs happening around these items, considering how rarely you're going to get the items. At best, you're going to probably have 2 copies of every item. At, at worst, you're going to have far less than even that. Hmm. Well, where is this going to take me? No cutscene or anything. Great Sage's secret. So we just teleported ourselves somewhere else. If all these machines exist, uh, then there is a question as to why they need the mana at all. Seems like you could destroy the whole world with just the robots. Hmm. Hmm. I guess I should applaud the game for not just immediately jumping into a final boss with the White Witch. That would have been a little arbitrary and weird. Hmm. Or abrupt. Alright, we'll play as this guy. Hmm. Beating the guy like this with the staff is probably the absolute worst way to do that. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. Nothing here. This whole cogwheel shape doesn't feel like it's too far away from one of the magic wand uh, shapes, which might be an indicator that we're going to end up fighting Gallus. I guess that would be the big twist that you would save some time is if Gallus turns out to be a bad guy, he kills the rest of the council members, and um, then we don't have what could be a gauntlet fighting multiple um, multiple council members. Remember, there is that whole Temple of Trials gauntlet also that probably at this level could completely succeed at um, with all of my characters as high as they are. Or at least I would mostly succeed at some of those fights. But I don't know what the gauntlet really is going to do. Probably reward me with items that aren't that useful. Hmm. Alright. Hey, we've got something here we can actually capture, so we will capture it. Hmm. 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 More than likely, we are going to fairly quickly fill out the creature compendium um, because of this too. Let's see. Like creature compendium at 59% at the moment. I suspect what we're going to start to see is that we will see the final forms of a lot of characters, and that will be all that's really necessary as far as filling in the creature compendium. It doesn't really seem realistic that um, more accuracy, less attack. Attack plus 60 here. Attack plus 98 there. And that is horns and claws. So something else should probably have horns and claws. 60 plus 40. If we have anything else that has horns or claws. This is better. So we can equip that one thing. So that's one side. Done. Nobody needs to be healed. I should be grinding and fighting everybody. But let's see. Rejuvenate. Spirit medium. Broom. Insight. Form familiar still doesn't do anything. Puppet strings does nothing. Nature's tongue does nothing. Right, so seems to me like there's absolutely nothing we can do to control these robots, which honestly I don't know what I could do to control the robots anyways. Not a terrible thought to save. And we'll go check this out now. There really isn't a lot of room here for being overpowered, unfortunately. Like, if these are top tier characters and they're about at the same level as I'm at, then I don't think anything too special is going to happen. Everybody's doing attacks, including the enemies. Meanwhile, I was running towards the showstopper orb and it disappeared. The timer on that seems to continue even as other animations happen, which isn't really fair. Okay, do we want to go this way or do we want to go that way? Let's go this way first. There's only going to be only so much of this. As far as the variety of characters we fight, like I'm not expecting to see 20, 30 new kinds of characters, and really all I'm seeing is derivatives and final evolutions of pre-existing characters we've already seen. Which that it would be weird if we just saw all new characters out of the blue, but might be interesting. There is also something to be said about ever since this started to be a thing, the idea of having digital monsters, pocket monsters, ever since there was a break in particularly Japanese creativity and Japanese artistry away from the what would be traditional depictions of monsters that were kind of set in stone. It has been a diminishing field to a certain extent, to a small extent, of how much you can make a new character or how many new characters you can make that won't just look like Digimon ripoffs or Pokemon ripoffs. Um, and a lot of it comes straight down to just having a head artist that is fairly consistent in his thinking and depictions. Um, but if you showed me all the monsters in this game and told me that they were Pokemon, I would particularly believe you, even if, particularly if you said these were like the newest generation of Pokemon and that they were going in a different direction with the art style. Of course, it's probably way better that they did break from just sticking to traditional depictions because you can see how Western games, for the most part, are stuck in patterns that are fairly boring and with very little variety. Like zombie games where almost all the zombies just look humanoid, like you'd expect a zombie to look, uh, are abundant. On a rare occasion, you'll get special zombies like Left 4 Dead, where you have characters that are depicted slightly different and have different abilities. Um, but there isn't a lot of that. When you look at vampires, vampires are almost always depicted extremely traditionally. Demons, um, for the most part, depicted as you would expect a demon to go. Although I guess the Doom series, with their cyborg demon concept and art style, does go out of its way to break the mold there. Um, there is definitely a danger in Japanese artistry where they have demons have kind of become just the equivalent of succubuses, and succubuses have been drawn as cutesy anime characters only. Um, so I'm wondering if I have to create a stair to go down this way to teleport to a different way. That might be what happens. So we may have to retrace this whole path instead of it just being places where treasure chests go. But I would say even in the idea of let's draw a succubus and make it a lewd anime girl in the moe art style, which is well, yeah, that was very popular and still is fairly popular. Even that has become formulaic. Mm. So that oddly does leave you with monsters of no real history, um, being the ones that they that feel unique, as it were. You can look at something like the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, um, and they're kind of constantly um, adding new different things to different cards, different art and depictions. But there is actually a fairly large lack of consistency, um, in the art style of Yu-Gi-Oh characters depicted on the cards too. Like you'll have very small themes that connect, like the harpy ladies or the dark magicians. But then you'll also have in completely different themes that visually don't really connect. Where if you looked at like the Pokemon trading card game, that sticks to Pokemon and that feels like one theme. Or if you look at the uh, Magic the Gathering card game, that is fairly consistent in its art styles for its common, its normal cards. It sometimes prints different art styles for limited runs and special edition cards. And but then I would also say the Magic the Gathering art style is probably the worst because it is so generically similar. Oddly, you do have to walk into every corner in this game if you want to reveal 100% of the map. Even though there's like 20 achievements left, I still probably am at the point where any achievements I would unlock would have been only accomplished by less than 10% of players. I think a large percentage of people who played this game did not make it to the end. They probably got bored. Nope, there's a little micro stuttering too. And see, this is going to be the point where potentially it's either this game or I'm back to thinking that there's something wrong with my computer, uh, which I had hoped to fix that, and uh, but who knows? Hmm. 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 At a certain level, building a new computer, I think I built too new of a computer in perhaps a slightly too tumultuous time in which new technology was being introduced and not really tested. Um, hmm, I'm about to die. Hmm, hmm. What would Love Struck do? That feels like that would be. Hmm. If I could get a character that would make characters fall in love with you so you could capture them, that would be wonderful. Hmm. But that would still be kind of a hassle. Princess Ble- the Princess Blessing. Hmm. Hmm. Is that going to revive Oliver? Nope. Hmm. Hmm. All right. One last guy about to die. Hmm. The other problem certainly here is if my computer is going to just randomly reboot or break like it has in the past, then I should be super paranoid about saving. But I don't think I can just save in the middle here anyway, so it may not matter. Is this a door? It's a wall. So that's where I needed to go, which does imply to me that that first, what I thought was a doorway is not a doorway. Okay. So I'm just going to make the assumption that that is not a doorway and that we can go forward. Hmm. Hmm. This may be a case where instead of seeing a full layout of a wand on the map, it may just be one wand pointing towards another wand to imply the Wizard Wars or the Great Wizard Battle, which it'd be weird if we went back in time and actually got involved in the Wizard Wars. This also is a castle that does not really feel like it would have had room for humans to live in. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, here we go. So this may be the only character. Hmm. Let's see. See what light damage does to this guy as a sub boss. Oh, that did more than enough damage. Hmm. Hmm. Nothing. Blimey, what that was a flipping nasty surprise. Took years off my life, it did. No one said anything about getting attacked by dirty great robots. It sure was scary, but we saw robots like that before, didn't we? That we did, man. Saw them lying about all over the place. Looks like they've had their batteries taken out. I never thought we'd find them up by here, though, in full working flipping order. Who knows, maybe the rust buckets we've been seeing on our travels used to guard this palace. Gee, you could be right. Well, whatever their game is, all I know is they're a flipping menace. Right, we'll be careful. Um, yeah, so unless there was going to be some insight where we had to go back and cast insight or something to um, get some bit of information. It's so crazy. It still feels like there should be this whole other tab of spells. Hmm. And that the game is not actually anywhere close to being done. And it's not atypical for a Japanese RPG to go forever, but it really isn't even atypical for a Japanese RPG to pretend like it's much closer to being done than it is, honestly, but it sucks. There's no other way to address it. By the way, we don't think have any blues. It's possible we picked up some blues somewhere, but doesn't seem like that's the case. Progress report. Yeah. Creature compendiums now up to 60%. The ivory tower percentage explored is only 28%. So it looks like there's a lot more to it. Um, I think interesting. Noblia is still locked, so I don't know where that robot should fall because each creature was supposed to have an entry in the book, but maybe it just has to unlock later. Shining tree. Interesting. Is a legendary beast. Still haven't learned how to use all the spells. It is somewhat believable that we may find out that there's some evil even behind the White Witch that turned her evil, since we know we've now had characterization of the White Witch. There's still plenty of weapons missing, too. Yeah, that really does not feel like... Interesting. It feels like you move there. Yeah, they're moving to look at you, but they're locked in place. Hmm. So maybe you scared them by defeating one of them. Maybe one of them attacked prematurely. These look different in color. Yep, I think this is exactly what's going to happen is we'll be attacked by one. And I guess maybe it is just a case where the these may just be like wretches and not familiars, and maybe because of that, familiars are um well, Esther is already dead. Hmm. Hmm. I still may die if I'm not careful here. His dark in color metal would imply to me that light attack should be used. Hmm. Hmm. We're running out of magic at this point, though. I have no idea where I am on the map. And in the world, we kind of know where we are. So I suspect something here is going to attack me back here. So you can't even see the names because they're so big. Up. Hmm. Hmm. It does seem vulnerable to fire. So it might be better to do an unleash on him. Hmm. 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 Ideally, this is kind of what you would want to have happen, is that you would have stronger single enemies instead of groups of three small enemies attack so often. Um, that being said, you can't really lean into that concept too much if you're making a Pokemon style creature collector. Hmm. Getting a single spirit dew. I mean, we should probably check the provisions. Like, either we're gonna get lucky and have a place to save and refill, or we should just get more spend a provision here. Yeah, you could take 10 of these to get 100 points, or you could hope to make these better. Blue, restore magic points. We have only one of those. Restore 200 magic HP to all allies. Cures all ailments. We'll never use that. Fully restore HP and MP. Hmm. Just use up all of the low level things, and look what I just found. Well, that sucks. Certainly. Hmm. Hmm. We may not use magic as much as we were. Hmm. Uh, if we're back to fighting familiars. Although we may use it a lot still. Hmm. Just stun lock the guy. Hmm. I, that might be an indication that we are much higher now. That gone we've gone up to another tier. It would make a lot of sense in any fantasy game that you would start at the bottom of a castle and work your way up to the top. Although most of the dungeons have not been vertical in any way. Like, not really. They've all been fairly flat, and that has worked as well as it has worked, which is not to say it worked particularly well. I would have definitely, if I was the game director of this person in charge, I would have definitely looked to make the dungeons better, and even if it came down to reducing the number of characters and creatures, like it would have been fairly easy if we look at the creature compendium. Um, it would have been fairly easy to have it go level 1 creature, well, in this case, level 1 creature, level 2 creature, level 3 creature, and then just be done with it instead of having a branch of level 4 and then another branch of another level 4 that I don't even have collected. Actually, in this case, doesn't look like that. That's really how it works. No, it's a level 1 creature. This would be the level 1. This would have been the level 2. And then this was the upper branch, and this was the lower branch. It's pot. You could have had only one and reduced the number. So just level 1, level 2, level 3. Or you could have even had level 1 and then it branches into a level 2 or level 3. Um, or if you really, really needed to save some development time, you could have just had level 1 creatures. The whole Pokemon evolving, digivolving, that was a big focus originally, um, when Pokemon came out. Although at this point, I don't know if it is that big of a focus, considering how Pikachu, one of the most pushed of all beloved Pokemon, never evolves. Uh, and in the Pokemon cartoon, it's very rarely a case that one of the Pokemon characters evolves into something else. I'm literally playing one handed with one finger while drinking water. I'm smashing the A button. I know, like in the Pokemon cartoon, there was a Togepi or something. I think it was a Togepi that was this little egg Pokemon that Misty carried around. Um, that I think eventually evolved into something. Um, Although, if you were to look at the Pokemon anime cartoon, then you also have to realize that for as often as they have evolved Pokemon, they have replaced the sidekick characters more often, or as for as rarely as they've evolved Pokemon characters. Like, they add and change the companions fairly frequently. Right, well, this is interesting. So if this is not a glass hallway showing where we were before, then it would be an implication that this is some kind of giant machine and that there's like energy or something. And yeah, I definitely assumed that there was something to this. It would be very weird to have to walk there and find out that there wasn't anything. Let's see. Blades, we need something that uses a lance. Let's see if we've got something better. Otherwise, that's spears. Occasionally stunning enemies. Yeah, I would love to see a game where if you're going to have weapons that can be equipped on multiple characters, you get a formula to upgrade all of the characters' weapons when as soon as you get a improved version of the weapon. Um, like, it's definitely a side note here. And you could have definitely gotten rid of the weapons in favor of focusing more on the treats and the familiarity system, or vice versa. You could have gotten rid of the treats and the familiarity system to focus on the weapons. You could have had a much more simplified system. I do feel like JRPGs feel like it is a matter of Japanese pride to make their systems so incredibly complicated that it is always wasting the player's time. But yeah, you could have easily had just one category of weapons with all weapons being equipped to all characters, one category of shield slash armor, uh, and one category of accessories, and that would have been more than enough. Particularly since we know that uh, there really isn't a uh, that how there isn't an impact from changing weapons. It doesn't feel any different, and it totally feels like it should feel different. All right. It's very possible what's going to happen here is that we are going to cross over and then lower ourselves back down to cross over into a different place. Hmm. 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 I'm going like all out defense to protect myself stops the other guys from attacking, so I should probably still just go all out attack. Hmm. 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 What what just healed him? He would have had to have healed himself there, I guess. The only thing that gives you advantages in these fights is the fact that these familiars don't have provisions. And then outside of the fight, you have the ability to heal yourself up to maximum, but nothing kind of stops that. That's not too different from fighting the familiars because they're going to be at their maximum also whenever you encounter them. There's not a system here where you die and then you can come back and fight them and they have half health. Hmm. This may be very much a case where they are trying to stretch it and make it a much longer experience. I don't see a scenario here, however, where this um uh, I don't see a scenario where the gates are going to open and then there'll be a different way to run around this temple. Everything all right, Peach Bach? I don't understand why Drip would be calling her Peach back. P back. P Bosh. Yeah. Seems like maybe the translator dropped something there. Um, Almost certainly in Japanese should be called something like P-chan, and you would, in this case, since they haven't been using the honorifics from Japanese, they would call her um, kid or something, just some term of endearment. Although the fact that Japanese language societally enforces the proper use of terms of endearment or terms of honor doesn't really imply actual terms of endearment. um, like it's pretend like you have affection for people versus actually having affection for people is not effective. uh, in the English language you have the same thing where you have very controlling strict parents that demand their kids say call them sir and ma'am, and those are almost certainly the kids that hate their parents completely and have no respect for them whatsoever. um, it's that man again. Well, we just saved, so I'm kind of expecting that there might be a boss battle here. Doodle do. P. The queen. She cannot yet be saved. A barrier surrounds her heart, one formed in the depths of her isolation. Until that barrier is broken, I can do it, I can break it. So you meaning to try again, little one? I fear you will not stand much chance alone. I'm not alone. I'm with Oliver and Oliver's friends. This would be funny if Gallus, for some reason, couldn't see the other people, but he saw them before. Huh? P? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. And are you sure about this P? You would stake all upon this boy? Then first we must prove to me he's ready to bear such a burden. Please, Oliver, have a fight with Doodle Doo now. You need that wand, but it'll only give it to you if you beat him. So we are going to get a more powerful wand. But P, okay, if he wants us to beat him, then I guess that's what we'll do. The power beyond the throne. Interesting. This is the first time we've had voice acting. Um, let's see. Ward. It's kind of a small area, so I assume he's not going to run around that much. Yeah, it doesn't seem like much is affecting him. Mornstar. But it also doesn't seem like he has just like a ridiculous amount of health or anything. So we'll try Evening Star. Hmm. Neither one of those really felt like they did that much damage. We'll try and unleash physical damage. Hmm. That didn't do anything. Storm damage, physical damage, fire damage. Water damage, storm damage. We'll try them all. I guess storm damage means wind and air damage. Oh boy, is it just me or does he do different attacks when his aura changes color? Knowing what types he is attacking can help you choose. What? It moved too fast. Alright. What is his aura at the moment? It is way too late in the game to introduce a concept. Alright, so he's light. I would assume. And I'm out of spells, so we'll just go ahead and use something to increase our magic points. And that didn't do anything because I got hit as it was going. Spells. Again, we'll try Evening Star. See, it seems like he's doing blue, so maybe now would have been the time to do fire, but that doesn't feel like that would have worked. When he's red, he's doing maybe fire damage, but let's see. Fully restore magic and health. Wouldn't be terrible at this point. We don't have a lot of these, but restore 100 health and magic points is probably better. Though, because well, there definitely is an imbalance on the amount of magic points versus the magic health points I have, and really should be in the other direction. It does just feel like I should do all out attack. And it does feel oddly like there's no way to defeat that attack in particular. Alright. Hmm. Oh, that didn't work. Fully restore consciousness and HP, or just restore consciousness. Like, we probably could use these provisions just fine because it doesn't matter. Um, like, I just don't really expect. Hmm, yeah, I just don't really expect that we're gonna fight the other 11 people. Um, yeah, the other, what I assume is 11 council members. I don't think we're gonna fight them, and if we do fight them, we're going to be so overpowered, and that would create a weird situation, certainly, if we are incredibly overpowered and are taking out council members in one hit. $200 allies would be terrible. Honestly, I really should just take some more magic. This whole game, he has been too short on magic for a magician character class. And as an RPG game, you don't get the opportunity to pick um, like you're not really getting that choice to say whether I want to be an attacker or a tank um, or some other kind of character class. You are Oliver. Oliver is a wizard. There's no choice there. You could potentially try and play as Esther, but you'd have to switch over to her every single time, and that sucks. And um, it doesn't work. I'm back to needing more magic. And it's just not worth it, so we'll use this Nostrum. We are probably going to win here, but it has been at a very high cost. And we don't even really have money to buy like more Nostrums if we could buy them. So the hope here would be that the wand he gives you just so significantly increases your damage that it makes you completely overpowered. Um, but even if it does make you overpowered, it also sort of needs to reduce the cost of magic again, because these spells are just too expensive. Everything's going to level up after such a long battle. And I definitely would describe it more as a long battle than anything else. Hmm. We'll replace that one. Hmm. Excellent. It would appear that my ghost is no match for you. Your ghost? Doodle Doo's not alive anymore. Doodle Doo is a wand. A wand? You mean that wand? So, ooh, I guess that may very well mean the entire council is just ghosts um, and wands. Indeed. I am a soul, the soul that resides within the wand known as Astra. A soul inside a wand? I suppose this wand is something like Mornstar, then. That is correct. Astra is Mornstar's twin. Interesting. I give you Mornstar that you may find your way to me. The child likewise. What do you mean, likewise? The queen banished P to your world, Oliver. I had her meet you there to show you the gateway to ours. She gave you a wand made from the branch of the Nazcaean sky tree, thus granting you its considerable power. A wand made from the sky tree? You mean that stick I found? Yes, he Doodle Doo gave it to me. P led you to this world, and she has continued to lead you all the way here. But why are you doing this? Do you not serve the White Witch? Are you not a member of our council? I want to take a moment to point out here, in this cutscene, they've got a reflective surface on the floor, reflecting all of these characters, which shows that they could have been doing that more often. It's a nice little effect. It's not anything big, though. I work for no one. This mask, this gallus, is a necessary pretense, nothing more. Enabled me to get close to her, to watch over her, to protect my daughter. So Gallus is the soul of the father in the wand. So I wonder if there's a soul of a great mage in every wand. Your daughter? You mean the White Witches? Blimey, you're Cassiopeia's father? After my passing, Cassiopeia lost her way. She called down the mana, which, with the best of intentions, in despair was her reward. It was only then that she became the White Witch as you know her now. Now my beloved daughter cannot see for the darkness that engulfs her. She is lost and alone in a world of her own making. Her own world? It pains me that I should have come to this. That it should have come to this. I had hoped I might make her see the error of her ways, but it proved too great a task for a mere spirit. The concept of a girl, maybe teenage girl, still falling into despair and depression and being lost in their own world, falling into delusion, is an interesting concept to touch upon. However, this game is definitely not going to actually touch upon it more than saying a few sentences. And if that was a concept they wanted to focus on, then they have to make the parallel observation that potentially is exactly what Oliver is doing right now, that all of this is probably a hallucination, or very possibly a hallucination, a delusion happening in Oliver's mind, falling into despair. It can be an analogy without being the truth, certainly, when you tell a story, but the analogy's result, or the lesson from an analogy, has to be the same in both cases. So if the White Witch is living in a world of her own and a mindset of her own, then she needs to break, and the message is that she needs to break out of that mindset and that perception. Then Oliver too would have to be learn the lesson to break out of that mindset and that perception. It would be a bad messaging any other way if you, for instance, told the story of the Wizard of Oz, where the wizard goes to another world and has to live a fantasy to be successful, and be happy. Then, and he's not really happy even at that. Um, that same analogy has to be applied to Dorothy, who is having a decent fun time in Oz, but it the message of it being not quite real and her needing to go back to Kansas uh, is certainly there. Uh, Moving on. No, too much dialogue. It's up to you now. You must save my Cassiopeia. Use this one to crush the evil that has enveloped her heart. Displace her mask. Reveal the innocent princess whose face it hides. Hmm. And then the wand seems to be reshaped once again to fit Oliver's hand, which it would have been kind of silly if they had animated a giant wand that he's holding with both hands and can barely stand up while holding it. Doodle doo. So he did all this for his daughter. We never really got an explanation why P called her father Doodle Doo, but whatever. Here you're gonna potentially have a custom animation of him bending over and picking up the wand, or they may cheap out, and they probably should cheap out and not show him actually picking up the wand. Doodle Doo asked you to help him, Oliver. Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. We've got Astra now. Nothing can stop us. We have to save the White Witch. No, we have to save Cassiopeia. Yep. They're not going to animate him picking it up because why bother? And that is why in many instances you will see people just magically float items to themselves, because that is easier to animate. We should check here. Make sure it's actually equipped. Nope. So Mornstar got to 33 plus 63 magical damage. So it is more of a focus on magical damage than physical damage. This will be 54 plus 75. It probably would have never been a smart move to switch to the Imperial Scepter. As for other things, I don't think we have anything new to consider there. We still can't save inside this whole dungeon. It seems like we now have a third tier of this. Let's see what Mornstar as a spell using Astra as the wand does. I didn't see the number, but it did a significant amount of damage. It is crazy that there isn't that there are unblockable attacks, though. 324. Just total insanity that there would be unblockable attacks in this game. But it would be also kind of hard to say, let's get rid of the unblockable attacks, because they're already struggling with the case that there's not that many attacks. I would have a hard time believing that that each robot is supposed to represent the soul of somebody from Nazcan. There's not enough robots, unless they were going to say that they put multiple souls in one robot. And that's probably not the case, because the mana would have turned them into monsters, not robots. It's a little inconsistent. It would probably have made a little bit more sense if inside this castle, instead of robots, there were wretches petrified in stone as statues, and they got turned around back into regular wretches and attacked you later on. Well, there is, I guess. No, there isn't. We're just going to now reflect. I thought there might be a doorway there. There could have been a doorway on that side that would have opened back to the main part if you wanted to fly back to the ship, for instance. And the thing here is, if I was going to do this, I'm going to have to find something that's would do a whole bunch of damage to everything, relatively cheap. Maybe Evening Star makes sense there. Hmm. 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 Yeah, it seems like those are all dark creatures, so that they actually resisted that. Hmm. And they're just healing each other. This is going real bad. Hmm. 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 Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to win here, because I can do this. I can heal him. Too late. How much gold do we have, by the way? Hmm. Well, we're about to find out. 1,000 gold. I probably lost about 4 or 5,000 gold previously. And that put me back at the last save spot. Which seems like we might have some scripted fights again, or we may not. Nope, that guy's gone. Well, that went really badly, which does make an argument that I need to actually take on these characters and continue to grind. It is just my assumption that having higher magic attack for Oliver does not increase Oliver Mighty's attacks when he casts a magical spell. It does seem like that is the case, though. Hmm. Hmm. Also, the creature affinity, or the types of creature affinities, if it has been benefiting me, it's not been benefiting me by much. It's been fairly easy to still lose. Remember, I'm playing on easy. This really should have been, instead of 60 hours, closer to 50 hours of an experience, and a lot easier. I should have never died once. I can only imagine the nightmare that playing this game on normal would be when you have these one-hit kill things that you would think on easy mode you could say, let's not allow for any one-hit kills, or let's make it really difficult to actually die. A lot of times games have secret systems built into them where it looks like you're about to die, but they actually only visually depict damage and don't actually calculate the damage, um, to make it more of a cinematic experience. Um, of course, JRPGs probably are all about the statistics, so I could see Japanese RPG fans being very unhappy if it turns out that the game is cheating in your favor, like many Western games do. But personally, I would definitely have preferred for this game to cheat in my favor and give me a little boost of health when I'm not looking, little bits of help around every corner, as long as they do it subtle enough so it doesn't make it blatantly obvious that I'm winning when I should have lost. The whole reason accuracy should exist in the game, in my opinion, is so that you can pretend like the character all of a sudden is just missing way more than they should be. Hmm. Oddly, I don't feel like the Noblia familiars are still going to show up. So I do wonder if there's just a whole nother area. I was still expecting to see another city appear. I don't know how narratively, though, that we could. I don't know how narratively they would bring back Nazkin and the people of Nazkin. Um, Eye Catcher. It's too much grinding. I'm having to do 10 to 15 battles against familiars to just maintain my level of skill and damage. Ideally, I would want to do like 5 battles extra to get 1 or 2 levels ahead and then maintain that 5 battles. That's not the way to kill this guy. By the way, as long as we're playing with the Marquesian, we are not having the other kid do his trick shot gunshots. So the achievement around doing that cannot be possibly fulfilled unless I were to swap back this guy in the power. And I can't do that, can I? Because he is now at level 56 and all of his characters are way more leveled up. It would be fairly insane to swap him in. Maybe it would make some sense to bring in him instead of her, but it's probably too late to pull that off also. Plus, the second she's gone, then you can't capture any familiars at all, and you're just throwing that concept out the window. So you lose either way, where the proper way, in my opinion, to do that would have probably been to just add a fourth character into the fight. It's not completely unheard of that there were 4 familiars or more that we were fighting at any one time. Yeah, chart chest. Totally useless. Warm Fang Ring. Let's see what that is. Plus 15 attack and resistance. Decrease movement speed. Do I have anything here that would prevent me from being knocked out with one-hit kills? See, what else can we? Increases attack when HP is low. Hmm. 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 One of these said it would increase spell casting. I felt like it said it would increase spell casting. But the flavor text says sometimes it will increase spell casting. The actual description increases attack when HP is low. Really should just be trying to increase magic damage as much as possible. That's all Oliver is ever going to do is cast spells. Yeah, I suppose, even though it will be a waste of time, certainly, I should just go back and look at every single item capable of being equipped to Oliver and reduce movement speed, reduce attack speed, reduce everything in favor of doing more damage when I do cast a spell. If I could double the amount of damage when I cast a spell, that is effectively the same as reducing the cost of the spell by half. Or many scenarios. All right. So, as far as weapons, magic, that is the most magic we can get. Or is this? This is a +4 magic. This is a +10 magic. I'm gonna have to go figure out who has that. +9 magic. +12 magic. And +15 magic. Okay, so we need to go find out who has the Nyx Nashers. We will swap that out. That. We're not going to have something better, but we could have something not as wars. Hmm. Okay, I think that's as good as it'll go. Okay. Magic attack 288 now. Would there be any other thing I could do? Not really. I could try to increase magic attack on this guy. Like this one is +8, plus accuracy, and plus fire element. That isn't a terrible thought. We should probably start over this way though. Sickles, an ingredient. +2, +23 on the magic spot. Yeah, let's try that. Hmm. Yeah, nothing's going to beat that 23. Then probably don't have a badge here that would swap to anything better. And that's about all I really want to change. Now is really not the time to look at the alchemy stuff, but yeah, we have a hard-headed badge. Which that might be useful to increase defense on somebody. So we'll look and see who we can put that on. Still can make stalwart scales, but that's kind of it. Really, it's just a ridiculous amount of resources here that you would have never had an opportunity to own. A best case scenario, you're going to craft each one of these items once. And that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you're going to barely craft a small percentage of things that could be crafted. And yeah, it definitely feels like this game has crafting because in the first pitch of the game, they said the game would have crafting. And that's the only reason it exists. Like, because logically, it really doesn't make sense for this game to have crafting. It's just not going to happen that much. Even Skyrim, though, had that problem. Like, there was definitely many situations um, where you could craft things to level up your crafting abilities to get more XP, but it didn't actually connect to the main game play mechanic, and so you would waste just a ridiculous amount of time crafting things to level up your character. Like, I definitely spent probably 6 to 10 hours in Skyrim, I think mostly off screen. Let's see. She's actually pretty good. Let's give this guy the hard-headed. Um, although him having more magical attack would probably be useful too. 4. 6. Nine. I think I went around in circles there. She has had magical defense, and so that, I guess that'll be a good experiment to see if magical defense is the only real defense you really need, because that's the only time you actually are taking a lot of attack damage. So we will cast Evening Star here, and it was doing about 300 damage before. We'll see if we're now maybe doing 400 or 500 damage. That would be great. I doubt it will change that much though. 380 where it was potentially 302 before. You can see now that they are weak enough. So there is a scenario here where, for the first time, nearly at the end of the game, I have made some changes to the equipment, and it actually felt like it made a significant difference. I don't know how you're supposed to know that, particularly if this is supposed to be a RPG game for kids, which is what it pretended to be. Obviously, at this point, it's not really that. But yeah, feels like you would have had a full tip system that should pop up as you're loading, but we don't really have a lot of loading between fights. So somewhere you should have been given tips. I don't know where you find to put them. Put those tips. I kind of wish more games would straight up tell you the um, like I wish they would tell you the total amount of damage you can expect to do per attack. Hmm. Hmm. All right. And now I'm playing as Marquesian. Yeah, it didn't feel like that really worked. Can't stun lock the guy, so let's try an arrow of light. Hmm. And if you put my guy to sleep, then you're just doomed. He just gets a free hit. Hmm. Hmm. This is a great example of where the game needs to throw those showstoppers all over the place. There should be one that just rains down, even if you don't get a hit on any enemy. Lease on life. Let's see. Restoring health. It will replace that. Alright. probably would be better to think about using some of this stuff. I have a ridiculous amount of cheeseburgers. Okay. For a 12 defense with no magic defense versus that. This instead of that. 8 and 5 can be replaced with an 8 plus 8, wherever that was. 6 and 6. It's not as good. 6 and 6 defense. 8 and 5 is better. It might be interesting that at some point I may want to just remove all of the items equipped and see if maybe I could craft new things. At that point, it is possible that that is limiting me from crafting things, is because I have the ingredients, but they are on the equipped list and then not available for use. But if that was the case, there should be more information telling me that, and that doesn't work very well. And nothing is working very well at this point. Even though I'm trying to grind here, it's fairly obvious that these characters we're fighting are leveling up and becoming more difficult much faster than I am able to level up myself. And you're almost certainly dooming yourself to failure if you don't play the way I'm playing and just try to rush towards the ending. I'd hoped that a significant increase in defense would have caused me to take less damage, but when I am fighting with Mighty, he does seem to still take too much damage. By the way, we started the game with Mighty. We've never really gotten away from him. He is effectively the Pikachu to Oliver. And it doesn't matter what character it was, really. You're going to more than likely, or at least I'm going to more than likely stick to the one, the first character I'm ever given, because it will always have the most XP. It will always feel like it's at a higher level. You know what? Just see if this works. Probably is a case where just doing even star for 41 magic is almost as useful as doing 2 cut looses, 2 or 3 cut looses, and several other things. If I die completely, give me a refill, but I don't really want a refill. Then that would then require me to run around. It probably would be smarter to run towards the end and hope that there's another seeing stone. Yeah, we've got nothing. I seriously doubt any of these characters are going to be able to do anything useful. All right. And we really only are capable of yeah, you're really only capable of capturing creatures because the creatures are strong enough to put up a fight and actually appreciate the fight. Interesting. 2 creatures captured in 1 fight. We've done that before, but it's been a long time. Again, I guess we have enough cheeseburgers, so it wouldn't really matter. We don't really have enough magic power to increase. And the vast majority of items here are useless. Like, we could have moved all of the things that are useful to the top and made a map there. Let's see. Hamburger is 30 HP, 150 HP. Consciousness is something different. Consciousness is something different. 250 HP. Nyx is 150. Cheeseburger is going to from fish burgers. Fully restore magic power. $30 HP. Fully restore everything. $100 HP to all parties. 200 HP to all parties. See, and this is probably going to be fairly useless to see how this all works, but Hmm. So yeah, this row is just full of items we would never use. This group here, people that restore consciousness, which arguably should be its own sub-row, because we know that there's two other things in between here. This row does full restore of HP and magic, where this does just HP to all party members. And this row does, we'll try and make a gap here for the moment. There probably is at least one or two other food items that I could have. And there definitely are at least two, probably three magic items that we're constantly short on. And fully restoring HP, let's see, I guess falls under that category over there. It probably is a something else as far as these. Meanwhile, there's no reason to even begin to start to think about organizing any of this. It's a huge mess. Be nice if this was sorted a little bit better, but it's a waste. Most of these resources are either something that's very useful once or twice, and then that's it, or there's something that you can buy in a store and then you can have fairly large numbers of it. We still haven't gotten that merge spell either that lets us use these things to upgrade. And there really isn't a great reason to organize all of this either, even though I tried to do that earlier. Because that'll give us at least a little bit of a break, which I guess right now we shouldn't be taking a break. Because we're in a problem. I need to find a save stone. We're pretty quickly here. Because we've gone 2 hours already. So we see a guy there. Let's ignore that guy for the moment. Let's see if there's a save stone over here. You still won't be able to like fully map this dangerous place. We're at 72% now as far as it being fully mapped. This guy is stuck in the wall, which I think that highlights an issue, certainly. I don't think we have any magic points, so we could pick maybe better characters to attack with. Let's go ahead and target this and see that he is attacking something that he's not useful. And you can't like retarget. Yeah, absolutely nothing that I tried that worked. For some reason, all these characters are very much compatible with physical damage and every other kind of attacks, or at least physical damage in particular. Well, that was an incredibly convenient level up. Now we have Oliver back with having magic points. We're going to potentially have a big boss battle as we walk towards this gate, I suspect. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe we end up fighting multiples of these in a row. Doesn't look like we're gonna. Right. Spell, Morning Star. 350 does about half. So, yeah, I actually don't even think I need to do it a second time. Just throw out our guy in. Smack him. We're back up to like 40,000 gold, or nearly 40,000 gold. Yep, there was a second one. I could definitely see some people struggling with that if they barely had a victory in the first and then they had to fight another one. And we'll move to put this guy out faster. You know what? Maybe it's overkill, but my character is about to die anyways. That did not work well at all. Esther is about to die. Hmm. 2, 3, 2. Now we have a third tier of robots and no save thing. It's odd that these robots are not being mentioned as creatures. I guess maybe they might be drawing a fine line as saying that the robots themselves are not human to start with, unless they are not deserving of being in the creature compendium. Why does this one have a heart next to it, but we haven't defeated any of them? I guess that's probably because I just evolved into that character, never fought them. That would be interesting, certainly, to check out. Honestly, at the end of the game, if you cared, and you almost certainly won't care at the end of the game, going through this whole list and just seeing how many times you actually fought each of these characters might be very interesting. See, 4, 8, 12, 16. This should be 20. So, Hurley here is a character that I think you just don't fight that often. So, you would have to evolve him up to see most of his evolutions. Each character is supposed to have 4 evolutions, so each character should have a row to themselves. And then this should be 24. So we haven't seen all the evolutions of this. And that's where it starts to sort of fall apart, but not completely. Some of these definitely are full of rows. So what does that break down as far as percentage? They're saying it's still 62%. And I guess the creature compendium itself is also falling under that category. Like, you would think that the robots might be under this category of automata, but they aren't. If anything, that just once again gives you the feeling that this part of this game is made by a completely different group of people, that they weren't even thinking in the idea of the creature compendium or giving it any quarter, which is, that's a weird way to say that, certainly. They weren't giving it any consideration, obviously. Mm. And that one went down a little bit easier. Arguably, in a Pokemon game, you kind of would like to see it go in that direction where you would have fought one of every single character in the game. Not that you would have particularly caught one of every single one. So if instead of a gotta catch 'em all as a slogan, they had seen gotta see 'em all, um, or gotta beat 'em all, that would make more sense. Hmm. 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 Unless there's an idea that for every robot you don't defeat, that's one more robot you'll have to fight later, which that is dangerously close to that military slogan. For everyone you defeat over there, you don't is one we don't have to fight on our own homeland, which I don't think that's guaranteed accuracy. I don't know why that was like that though. Like, there was probably a chest up here, and the reason this one came alive is because it was a trick and a trap, that you would walk over here thinking you could get the chest, but you couldn't. We're not seeing any stairs up here, although if they did, it would be beneficial. Also not seeing any stones. Hmm. We're seeing why it wouldn't have worked if all the dungeons were as big as this. It's just no puzzles or variety, no different experience to have. Like, we needed a break that wasn't just fighting Gallus. We needed to have found a central camp of some sort, someplace you could rest, maybe buy more equipment, maybe solve a puzzle to go forward. Um, you could see Gallus perhaps asking Oliver to cast a specific spell multiple times as a way of proving his comprehension of spells. And so, yeah. Gallus could have shown up 2 or 3 times throughout this whole area. Interesting. Seems like they copied all of that, but there's no chest. So going there was a waste of time. They could have put something there, certainly. One more red chest wouldn't have hurt. It's important to point out that I have completely opened almost all the extra hidden chests in the game, and it has not helped me at all. We can't do Evening Star. We don't have enough magic. Hmm. 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 And that was the end of that. Hmm. Hmm. I should be getting a lot more resources from random drops. Hmm. Hmm. See what Wind Tunnel does. Does a lot of, takes a lot of mana. Certainly. And it will be a while before I level up again. So I'm gonna have to start using food to refill my health. Hmm. I honestly don't think any of these characters are useful, but we'll see what happens. Hmm. 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 Next character. Hmm. I guess it is a case that the sound effects are slightly different based on the character you're fighting as, so we have a slightly different sound effect while I mash the A button. That's all that's really different, though. It's just A button mashing with more A button mashing. Hmm. Hmm. Like, I should open this chest, and that chest should have potentially had 10 coffees in it. Right. Sorcerer's Soul. Okay. That increases everything. So, should equip that. And then should consider equipping this. Hmm. Nope. I think I'll leave everything else the same. Yep, we'll just leave everything else the same and hope. It can only be so much more square footage that needs to be transversed. or crossed. So, like, let's try this guy out. Two guys that can put everybody to sleep over and over again. That could become a nightmare. Plus a guy that can heal. Hmm. 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 Down he goes again. Hmm. And you know, catching orbs at the end of a fight, not so useful when the orbs disappear in the middle of the fight. Hmm. 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 Yeah, for easy mode, you would expect these tiny tiers to potentially damage the other enemies or just win the battle by default. Hmm. Like, I really wouldn't even hate a system where you have to pay 5,000 gold potentially to win a fight if you're about to die, instead of just lose 10% of your gold to continue, lose 10% of your gold to win. It's pretty much the same thing either way. Either, except for the scenarios where somebody would lose, spend 10% of their gold to continue and then not actually continue playing the game, or not ever succeed at beating the boss that they're struggling with or the enemy that they're struggling with. Hmm. Hmm. It maybe logically doesn't make the most sense that gold would equate to victory, but you could leave that up to the writers, and I'm sure they could write an interesting explanation for that. Hmm. 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 It's still very much just smash the A button, though. Perhaps with some slight rhythm, but I've never really learned a pattern that was particularly great. I feel like the pattern of tapping the A button probably changes uh, based on the attack speed or movement speed of the enemy. Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. 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 It almost feels like the fight with the White Witch should be super easy, or that there actually shouldn't be a battle at all. Because we're going to be so resource limited. There really is no doubt about it. It's going to really, really suck if it's a long, difficult battle. If it's anything like the Shadar battle, you can expect two, maybe three different variations of the White Witch. Wizard's King's Secret. I also wouldn't be surprised if Um, what is the Wizard's King's secret then? If it's not a badge. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that we have to fight a lot of people before the White Witch. It's not a spear. It's not a sword. It's not a shield. Hmm. Just go back and figure out what it is first. Hmm. Hmm. We just got something called the Wizard King's secret. I thought it was one of these items, but do not see it. Hmm. It's not here in this whole mess, is it? The problem is all these gaps are going to be filled in. So anywhere a gap would have appeared, did I open the menu too fast and it hasn't shown up in the inventory? That wouldn't make sense either. Hmm. This is a waste of time and we're already going late. Oh no, it is actually this. Blue store HP and MP of all um, allies. Hmm. Which arguably, I guess, would be either in between these two. And we've got one of those. And that may be the only one of those we ever get in the game. Which, boy, wouldn't it be nice if it turned out that you could have been stockpiling ingredients and potions, lesser potions, merging them together into the Wizard's King secret at the end of the game. But we've pretty much proven we're not actually at the end of the game. Like, let's just admit that at this point. Prepare for the final battle didn't really mean that in the next 2.5 hours you're actually will um, encounter the White Witch and fight the final battle. Yeah, the more I think about it, it really would have been a lot nicer if Gallus had us go through a set of trials to remind us of what every spell was that we've cast and just have us, use every spell we've learned up until this point and just show how much Oliver has learned as a wizard. That would have been great, frankly. Of course, that only really works if all the spells are unlocked, and we oddly still have a lot of spells that aren't unlocked. We might be hitting a point where these guys are starting to be afraid of me, which I guess that would be an indicator of being close to the end. Hmm. 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 It would be fairly balanced if most players hit a point right as they were ending a level where the enemies started to be afraid of you, but honestly, they shouldn't start running away in a dungeon. You'd probably be better off just not programming the runaway mechanic at all and perhaps just have them stand in fear or just have a regular random pattern in which they walk in dungeons and in the overworld instead of chasing after you. I'm about to die. I suppose it, because of Tidy's tears, because the other characters have spells that would heal in battle, there is a benefit of trying to stay in battle instead of trying to heal outside of battle. We now have an all-seeing eye as an item. Okay. And yeah, that does feel like we are just going to the White Witch's chambers. See how this goes. Anybody gonna attack me? I figured at least one of them would. It probably benefits to um, to just try and get all the treasure chests in the first run instead of coming back to this whole area. I don't see a great value in the idea of returning to this area. Let's see. Dangerous places, 89%. We've gotten all the chests. Which also, we kind of know where we would go back if we were going to try and clear every area. That definitely feels like post-game content. And it definitely feels like that would be something that would be hard to justify doing. Only one of them. And yeah, this is it. It's another hallway down to the like in the fight to Shadar. Alright, so what we don't have is that much new ingredients, so it still probably is a case where you're not going to be able to craft much of anything that you would want to craft. It's been a very long time since we've given food to anybody, so at some point maybe we should give up on that and Champion's Tunic. There's a possibility a Champion's Tunic is something that would be an ingredient for something else. Like, if I really start to struggle throwing a bunch of food into the character to get their familiarity up would make some sense. Also, however, you're gonna have to just admit defeat and feed the character whatever you've got instead of trying to craft higher versions of things. Yeah. If you're a player who knew that like hotcakes existed and throughout the entire game you never fed a different type of cake to your characters, their statistics would be so low, plus their fullness would be so high that it really wouldn't work. The only way that would work is if the top tier ingredients still have yet to find the alchemy for 1 and 2. Like the top tier ingredients would have had to not add any heaviness at all. So let's just throw this in here. So familiarity has increased to 4. And that lets me then give him one of these. And that's all you can really do. We could continue down that same path with some of these other characters, or we could just not worry about it. I think it probably is best to just not worry about it. Like Snow White ice cream is invasion, so let's find somebody with evasion that's really high. And we'll throw some Snow White ice creams at him. Hmm. Hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much all you can do. If you were really on top of it as far as feeding characters, you probably could get them all to a familiarity of a 5. And maybe that is the one system that would double all the stats. And if that were the case, that would be very interesting, to say the least, because then we would effectively know why it has been so difficult. Let's see. Champion's Tunic is the thing that we equipped. This is 44 defense, renders knockout attacks and effective versus just a little bit of attack and defense. And this is standard close. So somebody else here probably would be better off with this. I would assume. Although it may just be a case that there isn't anything that's better. Hmm. Hmm. Slight, I think, decrease. Well, that's kind of a major increase. Probably should equip that. There's definitely a problem with trying to just look for the green numbers and not actually memorize the numbers. Yeah, it definitely feels like unless you have crafted the item that you could have crafted a lot earlier, you're going to run into a bad situation where you craft the item and then it is just not useful. I'd say 90% of the time or higher where I am finding that these items are not useful. Let's see. Definitely not a ton of resources if we are going to fight the White Witch. Way too much gold if we die and have to continue. Way too much equipment when most of it is not ingredients. And any of it could potentially be ingredients in the future. Way too many of these gems, which, unless I get a spell that merges gems to make them stronger versions of those gems, like if 2 firewall gems became Spirit of Fire gem, that might be something. Then, way too many resources and yet not enough resources. Way too many costumes. Still have yet to see what these tickets were supposed to be for. But there has to be more to this game. Clearly. It's so crazy though. We are at chapter 50, the final battle. So that's how they broke down their whole narrative. It'd be hard to take 50 general chapter headings and turn that into an animated movie, but you could do it. Particularly if you cut out some of these. As far as errands, we didn't finish that one errand and we got up to 83. And we know that the bounty hunts start at 86, so there should be at least 3 more errands. And then the bounty hunts go to 109, and that could be even longer. We've done absolutely nothing as far as pieces of heart. I wouldn't be surprised if, let's see, actually let's ask this. How many pieces of heart are there? There are 8. If we look at the map, are there 8 stones? 1, 2, 3 on the left page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right page. Yeah, I bet that's not a coincidence. I bet we go in to fight the White Witch and we fail in some way and we need to collect pieces of heart, we find out, by visiting the stones. And by visiting the stones, maybe we have to fight a sub-boss or something else. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a council member guarding each of the stones at that point, and we have to defeat each one of those council members. That would make a lot of sense. Sadly, doesn't seem like this really is a city, or ever will be a city, unless this castle lands on there and it turns into a city. So I question heavily as to whether we'll have anywhere else to spend our gold. I don't know what the whole floating eye thing is, but that's probably where the White Witch will be later, if I was to guess. We still really aren't unlocking these weapons. So I feel like there's still alchemy formulas out there. There's still spells to be found. We really can't be anywhere close towards the end of the game. Unless it's just bait and switch, which maybe it is. You look at the Wizard's Compendium, you're not going to get 16% completed in the next like hour or two. Creatures Compendium being at 62%, you're not going to get that completed in the next hour or two. Tasks have not gone up at all because we haven't had any tasks. Alchemy completion at 36 makes no sense unless we really are just supposed to mix and match things like crazy. Which I'm not sure how many things we can mix and match. Let's see. Only a couple of these feel like they would even play a role. So I'd like to think maybe you add one of these and one of these. And then you would hope that would work. Or that would at least give you a hint towards something. Yeah. Very few of these items are ingredients, and I just don't think it's worth your time. Yeah, it just does not feel like that is worth your time to try and mix and match all of those ingredients and craft something. Particularly since it seems like to craft anything, you have to have some of these special ingredients on top of everything else. And that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Well, we've gone 2 hours and 47 minutes. This was the only place we could have saved. So we will save, make a whole new save. It's the final battle, defeat the White Witch and save the world. Yeah. I doubt that's really how that's going to go. Was this better than previous hours of Ni no Kuni? Not really. It's a very simplistic dungeon that's too big with a lot of random fights and a lot of sub-boss fights. Too many that are not giving me enough XP or enough rewards for the amount of time I'm putting into it. I'm still incredibly struggling with not having enough magic power. Had I gotten the ability where walking around refilled my health, maybe that would have saved me a little bit of magic power, but not by much, because I'm spending maybe 6 to 10 magic power to heal everybody after a fight, whereas 6 to 10 magic power to cast a spell is still incredibly expensive, even after reducing the cost of the spells. So unless there's something that really makes him overpowered by unleashing his full power with the 8 stamp card final unlock ability, like that's the only thing that it seems like it would even be useful. Well, I'm not going to make this go any longer. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.